Poo Dough, a perverted Tarzan, and an Adolf Hitler toy. Here are the 10 weirdest toys from around the world, Part 2. Number 10. Poo Toys. Kids have a weird sense of humor that sometimes makes you wonder if they're all right. It must be why parents are always surprised when their little kids do some things. This isn't about humor, but how kids have always found it attractive to play with the silliest things. One of such things is poo toys. We don't think anyone would try using poo as a plaything in real life, but it's been a regular feature in kids' toys over the years. And it's a weird thing that toy makers even make it in the first place. Another poo-based toy is Lil Shits, which has the weirdest name and a creepy look. Because what's a little bit of poop if it doesn't make you want to throw up your lunch? The toy was made by a person from Etsy who claims that no two of his products are the same. Matter of fact, each poo is made by hand and unique in such a way that they have their own looks. All those details poured into poop. Just weird. Number 9. Rad Rapitin' Tarzan, 1999. Remember Tarzan, that guy who grew up with and was raised by apes? Tarzan stole our hearts due to his ability to make his way across the jungle by swinging from vines and jumping from trees. It was almost like watching the best parkour person in the world. There was also the beautiful Lady Jane, who wound up falling in love with Tarzan. There have been many movies and cartoons about the character over the years. Toys have also come out of the franchise, but one wasn't as good as hoped. The Rad Tarzan toy had a severe defect that made Tarzan look like the biggest pervert in the world. As you know, Tarzan's life in the jungle is limited. He hasn't got the internet, designer clothes, or even a barber. He even talks weird. So when the toy came out, all we got was a Tarzan action figure in a loincloth and no shirt. We didn't mind. Not until it started to play. First, the toy sounded like a cheetah that was getting a whooping. Then the hand moved up and down, which made it look like Tarzan was trying to, that's disgusting. Number 8. Adolf Hitler. The G.I. Joe franchise is one of the best and most successful around. It's got movies, cartoons, and toys to go. If you love action flicks that don't necessarily need superpowers or superheroes, then G.I. Joe is your go-to. However, in one of their toy lines, War Criminals of the 20th Century, the toy makers released an action figure of Joe's most prominent foe, a crazed Fuhrer. Standing at a whopping 12 inches in height, the Adolf Hitler toy is about as weird as they come. The toy's a little bit insensitive, considering all he did when he was alive. The name Hitler's got a bad rap that no one wants to be linked to it anymore. If that's the case, should it be okay to have a toy that looks like a failed artist with a Charlie Chaplin mustache? We think not. We also can't forget that children suffered the most during Hitler's campaign. When wielding his evil hammer, the man didn't care for age or size. So why are we handing kids a toy of such a person? Like it wasn't already bad, the toy makers also threw in some Hermann Göring and Heinrich Himmler dolls alongside with the Hitler toy to aid his journey to take over the world. If you think these toys were weird, now we'll take a look at an evil drinking cat, a terrifying mouse, and some weird singing toys. Number 7. Drinking licking cat. Usually, when you buy anything, you expect it to look like the image on the packaging, right? Of course, that shouldn't even be a question. The toy makers of the drinking licking cat seem to have missed that meeting, because what we find in the box is nothing like what's inside. A beautiful yellow cat is painted onto the box, which appears to be licking something. It looks so adorable, like something out of a fairy tale. But then we open the box and almost toss the cat away in fright. The toy inside looks nothing like what's on the box. Instead, it looks like a cat that's been through many ups and downs in life. Or the Slender Man's pet. The cat is ugly and scary to look at. But it gets worse. Its paw is shaped like a hook. To help it hold the cup steady, the cat should never stand up straight again. Very sad indeed. Number 6. Distler Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is one of the most beloved cartoon characters that we know. Many of us grew up watching shows of the character all year long. We learned the songs and followed when Mickey asked questions. Add the other adorable characters around him, like Minnie Mouse, Goofy, Daisy, and even Donald Duck, and we have one of the most fun shows in history. So what could be so bad that it dragged Mickey Mouse into our list of weird things? Before now, toys and other kids' toys weren't usually the cutest things you'd see. Often they had the strange shapes and designs that could be scary to look at. One example of such a design is the Distler Mickey Mouse wind-up walker. The doll had sharp edges, making Mickey Mouse look like something out of a wrong cyberpunk universe. Speaking of the color, it wasn't the brightest thing they could find, but it was decent. Kids were probably too terrified to come near this thing. We wonder how it got made in the first place. Did the toy maker not have any kids, nephews or nieces, or cousins because this was a horrible thing to play with and look at? Number 5. Singamajigs. In 2010, the world met many tiny critters who could sing. It sounds like such a great toy if it can put several lines together in a beautiful number, yes? Well, no. These toys would get the red buzzer at a talent show. To make the toys sing a song, you had to tightly squeeze their bellies. The longer or harder you squeeze the toy makes it react differently. So if you want them to sing for longer, you have to squeeze them for much longer. While the toy became an instant hit among children, it was one of the most annoying things that you wanted to grab and throw in the bin. The sounds it made became repetitive at some point, and its voice isn't the most pleasing thing you'll hear. This made things a fad. At some point, the trend just went to dust and people started to forget about the toy. Perhaps it never should have been made. Number 4, Sense of Right Alliance. The name of this toy is a mouthful already, but that's not even the weirdest part. Did you ever think that superhero teams weren't well made? Perhaps if they were a little more of this character and that character, they'd be really unbeatable. Well, say no more, because the great toy makers of the Sense All Right Alliance already did that for you. Did they create their own team of superheroes? Of course not. Instead, they just threw together 6 characters from different leagues to fight together as a team. You have Lightning McQueen from Cars, Spider-Man from Marvel, Power Rangers, Superman and Batman from DC Comics, and Shrek. Because, what's an excellent group without an ogre to tie it all together and make everyone look better than fit in? The knockoff toys were made by Chinese toy makers who plan to bring together the biggest 6 heroes in pop culture. If that's the case, how come Shrek made it before any other person we know and love? Starting out, things get serious. It's now time to look at a robot that predicts the future, a Punisher toy with the wrong attachment, and the stretchiest toy ever. Number 3, the Jesus Robot. How would you like to know your future? Sounds interesting, right? We already know how much Japan loves their electronics and how they constantly get the hottest and newest stuff before the rest of us. They have more advanced cell phones, video games, television, etc. But the one thing we're not prepared for was Jesus' second coming. This toy showed up in Japan. Come on. The toy robot is supposed to represent the intellect or decision-making of Jesus. We can't be sure what the toy maker was going for, but we do know that the robot helps you get stuff done. On the box it says it can help you get dates. I don't think Japan knows how this works. Is someone gonna say it, or should we just pretend it didn't happen? Ugh. Number 2, Shapeshifter Punisher. The deluxe edition of the Shapeshifter Punisher is one of the best action figures you'll find. It's well designed, and Frank Castle looks as buff as ever. Nothing seems to be out of proportion with the toy. So why is he on this list? Even though they got the body right, the toy makers made the poorest decision in where they put Frank's guns. I don't know about you, but usually people hold guns with their hands. So why did the toy makers decide to put the man where the man's parts usually go? We can't even say. The Punisher is packing some heat with a straight face. Way to ruin a good toy, you guys. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Number 1, Stretch Armstrong. Stretch Armstrong has to be the weirdest toy of all time. It was first released in 1976 and has since become very popular. There's no one way to play with the toy. Just keep twisting and pulling to your heart's content. While the toy helped children see who could pull the hardest, parents weren't so keen on it. For one, when left in a hot car, the toy often melts and turns into a sticky goo. No one likes cleaning out their car without meaning to. So imagine how hard it must have been for parents when they discovered that the goo wasn't even coming off. Although in 2019, the toy was redesigned to not melt again, but it's still a pointless and weird toy to have around. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.